So Pierre Poilievre just went on the Can't Be Censored podcast. It's a new podcast. It's actually really good. You should go check it out. Not just this interview, but the other ones as well. But Pierre Poilievre is exposing the dark future for Canadians. He's done it before. He's doing it again to spread the awareness. So we're going to have a look at this clip. It's just a few minutes long. Then we're going to talk about it after. But before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps grow the channel. And I appreciate you guys so much for doing that for me. So let's have a look, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, we want to switch over to affordability, home ownership. You often talk about home ownership as the Canadian dream, but if, let's say, half a generation that's not even a possibility for them. Should we maybe change the narrative, the framing of, success from renting or owning a home to, renting or,
Yeah. I mean, I guess does the metric need to change? Is the Canadian dream anymore owning a home, or can it be renting?
Are you serious?
I don't know. I mean,
Do you realize?
This is the conversation, because
just if I could, do you realize what they've done to you?
Who's they?
The government.
What have they done to us? Oh boy.
They just tricked you into massively lowering your expectations for your quality of life. I find it heartbreaking that people are being tricked into thinking that their lives have to be permanently worse than they were 10 years ago.
But why is it worse to be a renter?
Why it's worse to rent permanently. It means you'll never be able to build up home equity. Home equity is the basis for most retirements. It means...
Remember, a certain globalist said you'll own nothing and be happy. Of course it's better. I don't understand why she would, or why they would even ask that question, but of course. You don't want to rent for the rest of your life. That means you're always going to have a rent payment. If you have a mortgage, eventually you pay it off, and then you get to live rent-free in your own home. Yeah, you're going to have to pay insurance and property tax, but it's still cheaper than rent, and you get to build your home equity. It adds to your net worth. What's your net worth? It's your assets minus your liabilities. So if you pay off your house and you don't have any other debt, and your house is, say, worth $500,000, you have a net worth of $500,000 just off of your house, let alone what you have in mutual funds or your retirement, your bank account. All that adds on to your net worth. It's very nice to have a net worth over $1 million, or at least around $1 million. Well, if things keep going the way they're going, you're going to need a net worth of like $5 million just to live a middle-class, so-called middle-class life. You got to be rich to survive in the future. And that's the problem. By the time people like me are in our 60s, like, what's the future going to look like here for? There's no owning a house. There's no paying it off. You're going to be you're going to be working 2 jobs until you drop just to pay rent, and that's what they want. They don't want you owning anything. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy, apparently, according to the globalists.
Means that you'll always be paying off the mortgage of a multinational corporation that rents you your place, rather than building up ownership in a place that you can call your own. Owning a home was something we took for granted.
Right.
Only 10 years ago. And the government has enacted policies that have doubled the housing cost. Now, let's be clear. This wasn't an inevitable phenomenon that was unavoidable.
Yeah.
Our housing costs in Canada have risen 35% faster than incomes for the full Liberal decade. That is the worst gap of any OECD nation. Why is it that when you go to Niagara in the States, you can buy a house for 60% less than Niagara in Canada? 15 minutes apart. So same geography, same population density, and yet somehow it's more than twice as expensive on the Canadian side of the border. Let's isolate the problem. Liberals created this mess. They had excess money printing and immigration, which boosted demand, and they funded bureaucracies and put in taxes that block supply. When governments inflate demand and restrict supply, the price rises. We should not accept that could go on anymore. We need to reverse the Liberal policies that doubled housing costs. That means stop printing money, bring in a number of new people that we can absorb, and remove the taxes and bureaucracy so that we can build homes affordably like we did for 160 years before the Liberals took office.
So what do you say to the young person right now who thinks that this is just out of reach for them?
They're right. Right now it is.
They've lost hope.
Yes, I know. And that's the sad part. And what the Liberals are trying to do is their new message is that that young people just should accept that the Canadian promise is permanently broken. And that's why.
And that's the thing too, is that you have, these kids who are like 20, around 20 years old right now, and they don't recognize a Canada. They don't remember a Canada that was affordable because they were kids. Renting price back when it was affordable, when they were 5, 6 years old, they don't remember that. It wasn't important in their life. They're just kids, right? So then they grow up, they become adults, and everything's expensive. It's just that's just the renting market. I guess it's always been like that, they think. And then they hear people like me talk, and I'm not that much older than them, and I could say, no, when you were a kid and I was 18, I could rent an apartment, 1 bedroom, and $700. Yes, that's the low end, or it was the low end. A lot of them cost $8, $9, or even $1,000. But Burlington is one of the more expensive cities. It's one of the nicer cities. But you could still find, a decent apartment for $700. $1,000 got you a nice apartment. $1,000 gets you nothing now. And it's absolutely insane, and that's what needs to change. It's never going to be reversed back to where it was that cheap, but we need to slow down that growth big time and let wages catch up, because wages have been stagnant for like 20 years, and that's another big problem.
I was so taken back by your question, because I don't want people to accept the miserable standard of living Liberals have imposed on them. And I think the secret, if the Liberals are running the next election, will be to say, hey, everybody, we know that life is terrible, unaffordable, unsafe, but it can't get any better. You're just going to have to live with it. Right. That's effectively their implied message. My message is, you don't have to live this way. We have the biggest supply of land per capita of any OECD nation. Housing should be dirt cheap in Canada. It should be the cheapest place in the world to buy a home. And so that is my view, and I'm going to keep selling hope that we can restore the promise of this country where you work hard, you get a house, you get affordable food, you get to live in a safe neighborhood.
So we want to talk about...
All right, I'm going to cut it off there, but you see, that's the thing. That's why we need someone like Pierre Poilievre, because he actually wants change. People who voted for the Liberals voted out of fear. Pierre doesn't want to scare you. He's just telling you the truth because he wants things to get better, not worse. The Liberal Party is going to tell you, sorry, nothing we can do. You're going to have to live with it. You're going to have nothing and be happy about it. That's not the Canada... That's not the promise that Canada has been delivering since its existence. But it's the promise they're delivering now, which is, sorry, nothing we can do for you. It's just the way it is. And they pretend that, we're going to help and we're going to do this and focus on things like climate change. It's like people are broke. Climate change is something, for example, that people focus on when other things are okay. But if their basic necessities, that their general life sucks, they're not going to care about climate. Why? Because why would you care about it if you can't even pay rent? You're going to be way more focused on that. So let's get focused on crime, immigration, housing, etc., so that the middle class can be restored and successful once again.